All right, welcome to another episode of GPT with me. I almost said Chat GPT with me, but it's not specifically focused on that, as we'll find out very shortly in a second. Why did I start a new session? Well, it's Mondays, going through the news. Came across an interesting TechCrunch article about a website called FlowGPT. Let's just hop over here and show it. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of poke at it and maybe talk about it on a stream. I had a little bit of a look, just to kind of see, is it clickbait? Is it real? Is there something there that's worth talking about? Seems like there's something there that's worth talking about. Article here is FlowGPT is the Wild West of Gen AI apps. As you can see from the board here, there's a ton of anime, girlfriendy looking type things. Not at all what I'm interested in. There's a far more interesting piece we'll get into in a moment. But just kind of quick dive into the article. I see it's the Wild West of Gen AI apps. It is the Wild West these days in the Gen AI space. GPT aims to be a sort of app store, sort of, definitely quotations there, for models like Gemini, Claude, Llama 2, Dolly 3, etc. Not an extensive list there, but an interesting list. And it's something that's been rolling around my mind. Is like, how do I start poking at some of these other models? Like, there's an idea here I feel that's developing. There's kind of two ways to look at Gen AI. One's the bring it to my workflow, more the ML typical software engineering approach. Like, how do I use this tool to augment the artifacts I create? How do I make my systems better? Products probably looking at it the same way. How do I use this tool to enhance the user experience, to put a competitive advantage in my product, solve the kind of problems I have. And then I think there's the people who are just kind of like, what is it? What can it do? How do I engage with it? How do I bring my workflow to it? Not it to my workflow, but my workflow to the tool. And that feels more the angle I'm exploring right now. I do want to get back into kind of exploring the webcat and a few other just things with GPTs. There's still a space of kind of using someone else's GPT, someone else's API within the GPT. It's probably more the standard use case than making one yourself. And then there's still kind of the outlook here of like, what if I want to keep a more current version of information? Anyway, we'll dive into that a bit more later on. So I got a couple trains of thought on how to continue building out some custom GPTs and some utilities that'll make me happy and hopefully productive. But for the time being, we're just taking a small break exploring the GPT here, FlowGPT. Excuse me. So FlowGPT founded desire for a shared platform where people could quickly spin up and share Gen AI apps. Sure, I guess marketplace seems like a standard kind of feature as technology evolves. Makes sense. Hope it doesn't stay flooded with AI girlfriends. Hopefully there's some utility there. Saying there's still a learning curve for users to AI. I think that's really kind of the thing we're exploring in this series, right? Like, how do I engage with it? How do I make it do something useful? We've all talked to Siri or Google Assistant or Alexa or some form of AI assistant that just, left us feeling more frustrated than the value it created. Sure, we can ask it to do simple things like, play some music, but I can ask my dog, I don't have a dog, but, used to, back on the farm, to go play fetch, and there's still some kind of reward there, and it's exciting and interesting, but it's a one-trick kind of thing. How do I continue to expand on that? Anyway, learning curve lower. It's an ecosystem. I'm not going to get too much into the article. Blah blah blah. If you want to go read it, you can. Given trying to generate. Yeah, there's all kinds of weird things that's not the value I'm seeing here. That's not what I want to explore. What I care about more, I landed here. I made an account. I've only poked at this briefly, and this is probably the only thing I'm going to continue to explore is the chat tab here. That's what got me super interested. As you can see here, I've been chatting a little bit with it. And what I wanted to do is to kind of loop back on the idea of using ChatGPT to kind of drive a conversation. So I was poking around in an idea, something like I said we'll come back to later on the GPT side, where I want to maybe get transcripts of my YouTube videos. I want to be able to kind of pull this information in, like Webcat was pulling in web pages. But then I'm like, but then I got to set up a whole bunch of infrastructure, and I have to like figure out how to like, probably lock that down a little bit better than on my basic web scraper. And there's just a lot more things that come with this, like copyright worries, and it's no longer just a fun little tool where I can kind of maybe just say I'm experimenting. There's some more steep implications here. So the idea was, okay, GPTs allow you to kind of go put information in. So if I go look at Webcat here, or let's say Explore, got to go there, my GPTs, and edit. Oh, please tell me you're going to load. Oh, here we go. There's the knowledge, right? Can put files in, which is great. It's a great way to kind of put together a static kind of knowledge repository. And I could probably build a manual workflow around, like, you finding a website and getting the transcripts, and doing all that fun stuff. But how do I automate this? How do I automate that knowledge bit? And that's where I got thinking I could build a data pipeline, a really simple data pipeline. My goal here is never to build involved systems, little scripts I can put together easily. One person band here, I can maintain it. I don't have to give it a lot of thought. Hopefully, the utility it provides outweighs the maintenance cost. I think that's the thing to always remember. Everything needs to be maintained. So the thought was, over the weekend, how do I kind of maybe automate this process? How do I take that a step further? And that's hopefully one of the things we get to in one of the streams here. So I'd gone through. Let me actually go back. What am I doing? Let's go have a look at the actual chat here. So once again, hindsight type chat, but life happens, and I can't always record when it's happening. I don't know if it's a my computer thing or must be a my computer thing. So just for context, I started off thinking, how do I inject research papers, specifically because a lot of AI stuff gets dropped there. And I kind of meandered around for a bit until here. How can I get a transcript of a video? Now, I'm not asking for things programmatically. It's telling me, there's speech-to-text, APIs. I've played with this enough. Oddly enough, one of my first adventures into AI was really around, I have a very specific type of problem in mind that I want to test to see AI's capabilities. And it's funny that OpenAI's come with Sonoma and this video generation thing. That's where it started. I was paying up to $100 a month to access what I could find as some of the best video generation stuff in the space, generate the audio, generate some form of like image, because their video generation even a year ago was not good out there, which doesn't surprise me. It's a hard problem. And eventually I got to the point where it wasn't really working out well, and I was kind of watching this weird tangent of YouTube videos where it's like, Reddit stories and it's text to speech. Well, someone's reading it. They're overlaying the text, and there's usually some kind of generic game footage in the background. So I was like, cool, how hard is it to automate that process? So I wrote a whole bunch of scripts, very weird kind of, that it broke out of my typical paradigm of writing like a monolith. I wrote a bunch of little utility scripts, and there was a sequenced workflow and step to step, and it made it easier to debug and to use ChatGPT to help drive out some of the scaffolding, less code paste. So it was kind of one of the motivations there. Led me to now using it as part of a workflow. We're building code with it right now. And I did a lot of work with Google's text-to-speech and speech-to-text because I needed to be able to take the stories, so scraping Reddit. Only just a few of the stories. I'd have like a top 10, pick which one looks interesting, pull the text. Is that you can only have up to like about a minute. You can't have these long-running sentences. I found that out because people don't use punctuation always on Reddit. And so you got to figure out how to kind of like arbitrarily chunk up your text if you're sending it up to the text-to-speech. I haven't used Whisper yet. I think we'll probably get there at some point. I have no doubt I'm going to start poking at all this stuff. I've got some old Python code we can hopefully revive. But to be honest, it was a very minimal amount of effort to do that with Google. Really API keys and API call and a little wrapper method. But anyway, Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so I explored that. It's hard. I've got a bunch of code. We'll probably revive some of that. And then what I would do is I'd run the I run this speech through to get the text, to get the timing. So when I did the overlay, this was actually the hardest part of the entire puzzle, was figuring out how to line up the textual overlay so it sequenced exactly with the speech that the AI service had given me. So I found that running that same speech back through, it would give me timings as to what was where that I could then use to overlay and compose with FFmpeg the video segment. And unfortunately, once that got solved, that was the hard part. The interesting part of the problem was done. It was about sourcing game footage legally and kind of building the engine out from there, which it was still more AI stuff to explore. I didn't feel like kind of pegging myself to these weird text-to-speech YouTube video type things, but it's something I left there. I have a long-forgotten channel where about 40-some unfortunate souls, some horrendous creations. Maybe I'll bring it up sometime. Anyway, so the whole goal was to figure out how to get transcripts. I know the text-to-speech stuff. I know this stuff out there. And so I was like, okay, it's a YouTube video. So I'm being very short, terse with this, kind of just throwing little snippets of information here. It's like, if you're the owner, here's how you can get it on YouTube. Trying to be very useful, like avoiding program, any way to fetch the video to make a transcript with Python. And then it's like, you can do this, you pull it from YouTube. And I was like, okay, that's one way. That's what really got me thinking, oh gosh, I don't know if I want to open this up. I think I need a private data pipeline. I don't want to have to pull scripts and then go upload them into the knowledge of the GPT every time. And, it doesn't fit my workflow. It's going to be a little annoying. I'd rather be able to go, okay, video's done, run script process. It's indexed, it's been, the embeddings have been created and avoided somewhere, and I can search it and bring it in. And then, maybe there's a mini RAG pipeline type concept sitting there. I'm exploring these things in detail, trying to understand. You hear these terms, you think they align. Do they really? Anyway, then it's telling me, okay, cool. Then you can transcribe the audio. Here's what you need, little snippets of code. I love these just tiny little fragments that kind of help me get the job done. Really seeing them as just kind of, how would I write an Excel function? I need to do these things. How do I get it done? It's probably a step or two higher, but really just focusing on tiny little steps in the process. And I'm like, okay, cool, but can you write me a step to do it all locally now? So still thinking of YouTube, I meant like I have the source video file. Do it for me. But, it's getting a little bit more. It's downloading it. It's bringing it together. It's, giving me those notes. What if I wanted to search it? Should I use embeddings or Elasticsearch? And this is where I started to think, okay, cool. Like, I've used Elasticsearch an incredible amount over the years. It's been really awesome at what it does. There's a lot of utility there. Should I go that route, or should I be looking at embeddings, which is kind of more the typical thing that comes up when we start talking these types of retrieval augmented generation type systems, RAG. And it's giving me the pros and cons, which it just is so great. It just saves me so much time finding some Google query to find the website that has a bunch of adverts that maybe gives me half the information I need, while I spend the next hour poking around trying to piece this together myself. Now, obviously, it could be wrong. It could be hallucinating. It could tell me a bunch of crap. But, based on my experience, I can't speak to embeddings greatly, but I can speak to Elasticsearch. And everything seems to kind of line up with what I know. So, giving this sniff test, it's passing, so I'm happy to go forward. And then it's like, but you could, you can integrate embeddings with Elasticsearch, which I hadn't actually realized. I may have been aware of it at some point, but I've never had a need to do that. Then it's decision, so semantic understandings versus keyword. If your application benefits from understanding the context or semantics of the context, RAG. Embeddings can provide significant advantages for traditional search use cases where keyword matching suffices, less search is very effective. I don't want keyword matching. I want more semantic, contextually driven things. That's the whole point of being able to pull this source in, is to kind of riff on an idea and maybe ask it, have I talked about this before? Is there something in like what I've put out there? Because one of the underlying goals of streaming this isn't just to, stream for the sake of streaming because it's fun, but to generate, find a low friction way of generating ideas. Like, things will pop out of here that I can go riff on small blog articles. I've been taking a tweet and turning it into a blog. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do a bigger long-form blog post on Webcat and just kind of the details that went into it, do a little concise video. Just putting little things out there for people in this space to hopefully find and utilize. So it's telling me some stuff, and I'm like, can you amend the transcript code to make the embeddings for Elasticsearch? I was like, cool, awesome. Like, it does this thing. It fits into a piece of technology I'm already comfortable with, I'm already familiar with. I don't need to go pick up some new ML terms. Excuse me while I drink some water. So it's going to tell me I need to install a sentence transformer, Elasticsearch. I haven't tried any of this code. This was just an ideation phase. What does it look like? How involved is it? It's telling me I need to use a mini model for the sentence transformer. It's all seeming to make sense. Like, I'm really excited to get in and try this here. Hopefully later this week. We'll see how things stack up. Okay, and then I was like, okay, cool. Like, you're giving me some really good food for thought. Then I came across this FlowGPT, and I was like, hey, how do I go test these other things? I mean, this is an idea rolling around in my mind. Like, how do I test these other models? Like, maybe I need to be bringing other models, like a polyglot model type space where, code works best with this one, and, like, ideation works better with this one, and maybe, mix and match. I don't think we're at the stage quite yet where I could get an environment to do the ats like ChatGPT does across the multimodal environment. That would be cool. I could build pipelines in chat and really prototype things. But for now, just having that window in, just having a pane into another space is super useful. So I'm like, hey, why don't you go about summarizing all of this into a single prompt for me so that I can basically go drop this on the other the other LLMs and see how they behave. So this is the prompt it gave me. The goals. So this allows for advanced search function, leveraging both the textual context and semantic understanding. You can't use to summarize prompt for the entire video. So if I take that, now I just copied everything and pasted it. But I went here and I asked for it. I did this piece by piece because I was kind of comparing the outputs of the two, believing this is 3.5. It could be 4. Because the thing is, they charge you credits. They got their own token system on top of all of this. I mean, that's how they make money, obviously. I got one free token, for signing up, basically. Different models do different things. I'm not sure on what all of them do, but I just kind of wanted to point out that there's a resource out here. If I drop this in, what is it going to do? It's going to give me the Python script. It's probably going to give me something incredibly similar to what my previous ChatGPT conversation gave me. It's doing it pretty quicker than it usually does things. So, seems sensible. Something I could probably get to work. What does Llama 2 do for me? Giving it a pretty directed prompt, it seems to, understand. It's not packaging things up as nicely. You can see it's not quite getting all. Set the index name, and it dies. So I tried this before with the more step-by-step. Didn't get any much of a different result. Let's try this one here. I think I pasted the whole prompt in and just told me, oh, that's an interesting thing. And then it cut off. Obviously, this stuff's all work in progress. This one did a horrible job. I'm not sure. I'll have to go figure out what this one's goal is, but didn't really just write the code for me. This one's probably going to waste my one token. I'm here. You're here to help. It'd be really nice to know if you had a specialization. Write a script too. Does it need that? Well, create it, please. Here we go. I just need to be super polite with it, or maybe just continue prompting it. This is one I'd be interested to see. It's. Oh nope, I cut off. Well, that's a bit of a small problem. Early days of ChatGPT, like a year ago when I was using it to poke at my very silly little exercise here. It was doing the same thing. You often had to kind of like poke at it to get it to do things. Okay, giving me a little bit of a different scenario. It's telling me to just use indices. I haven't verified that the thing the original ChatGPT gave me about vectors and inserting them into Elastic will work. I'm pretty sure it will. Just kind of basing it on what the output looks like. I'm just doing that surface level sniff test on these things. I'm not, Ideally, it'd be really cool if I had some space to push this code to and just say, hey, build it and test it. Some kind of universal test suite. Not necessarily an eval. I'm not worried about this checking the prompts output. I'd rather run that through an environment, especially when it's code focused, just to kind of see, okay, here's my test pack. Like, here's my idea. What's working, what's not working. Maybe it's something to explore. How do I get the code out of these environments and kind of run it through a basic little a pipeline to check it. I don't know. What else looks interesting here? Palm 2. Let's try it. So not extensive. There's a few things here. It gives you an opportunity to poke at maybe a few of the other models you've heard about, like Llama 2. Claude 2. Some of these are free. I don't know. I think Google stuff's all free. I don't really play in the Google space too much. Not because I hate Google or anything, just because I just don't find the utility. This just pooped everything out all at once. Interesting. I just don't find the utility that I'm finding with ChatGPT. I don't find the same utility in ChatGPT 3.5. Really simple things like checking emails or just kind of doing that surface level one step, half step better than what AI prior to this was able to do. Cool. It's doing all right. The more conversationally driven things, and I think this is a concept to really come back to, conversational AI. It's different than like the typical chatbot experience had been of like ask question, get response, help me navigate, customer support service, or set up something like that. It's more about that open-ended ability to riff, and hence why I'm trying to bring in custom GPTs to kind of expand that experience and understand it a bit more. And ideally, some of that custom chat GPT stuff will help me translate some of those learnings into small little exercises that we could put on private models. We could put at Bedrock. We could put at Claude. We could put at Llama 2. We could put them at any model out there. It's not about using the GPT experience from ChatGPT. It's about using that as a playground, as a model, as a means to do low-cost experimentation, exploration, to just understand how AI can fit into my life. Back to the purpose of this series is, how can AI make me better, faster, stronger? We're still early days. It's not always going to get it right, but does it add enough value to my life to allow me to pursue something like this? Can I find ways of doing this better with this type of tooling, whether that's less people, myself basically at this stage, or just more thorough cross-referencing of ideas. Maybe it can help me produce small things. I mean, as much as video creation is cool, I love video editing, where I could give it kind of the the goals, and it would take the raw source that I've created and now figure out how to edit that into maybe a sequence of shorts, maybe a longer form video. It could cut out a few things from the live stream and package it up as little 5 or 10 minute videos for people to go look at, so I don't have to like reproduce them. I doubt that we'll ever get to that stage. Maybe some shorts, some tweets, some of the low friction small content pieces could percolate out if I was able to find a way of giving it the raw source to analyze and figure out how to produce those types of things. And ideally it would be without me running a whole custom setup to get there. I'd be able to utilize things as they are. That's why I figured small videos were the way to go. Things where it's just like, hey, cool, do this. Here's a kind of a repeatable format. Here's a recipe. Just figure out how to get the right content into that recipe. Go source the ingredients. Don't necessarily have to build the whole recipe from scratch. Anyway, so it's out there. Have a look. I'm not going to poke around in other things. I just thought it was really cool that it had some different chatbots I could put here. I'm sure there's other ways to do it. It's just all right here, and it's easy. Just removing those little bits of friction always seemed to be the way to move forward. Anyway, hope you found that useful. Hopefully next stream is me kind of digging a bit more on the custom GPTs and just exploring that path a little bit more. But I just wanted to put this out there. Lots of things happening. This one looked cool. All right. Have a great day, folks. Bye-bye.